In statistics, we use something called z-scores, and a z-score is associated with a particular data value. And what it is the number of standard deviations the data value is above or below the mean. Now, there is a formula for z-scores, and this formula you can see here is the x is the actual data value, so this represents the data value. And then remember that mu is the mean, and this means the standard deviation. So z-score for a particular data value is that value minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. So you can calculate that, or if you already have the histogram, the graphical display of the data, then you can easily find a z-score for a data value from the histogram. So let's take a look at that. Right here we have the mean. Now between the mean and this first line here, this is the mean plus 1 standard deviation. Between here and here, this is the mean minus 1 standard deviation. And between here and this value here, this is the mean plus 2 standard deviations. And here, this is the mean minus 2 standard deviations. And let's look at this last one here. Between here and here, this is the mean plus 3 standard deviations. And then between here and here, this is the mean minus 3 standard deviations. So now, if you have a value that is between the mean and the first standard deviation, it would have a z-score of 1. Between here and here, this would have a z-score of 2 because it's within 2 standard deviations. And then between here and here, this would have a z-score of 3 because it's 3 standard deviations away from the mean. Now similarly, going to the left of the mean, so this is between here and here, this would have a standard deviation, a z-score of -1. And we put the negative here because we want to signify that it is to the left of the mean. So it's the mean minus 1 standard deviation. It's within this group here. And then between here and here, if your data value falls in this range, it would have a z-score of -2. And if your data value fell within this range, it would have a z-score of -3. So let's take a look at a couple examples. If you had a data value of 87, let's say, this would have a z-score, this is likely to be right here, this would have a z-score of -2 because it is 2 standard deviations from the mean, and it's to the left of it. Let's take a look at one on this side. Let's suppose you have a data value of 126. Now let's take a look at its z-score. It would have a z-score of 3 because it's in this group here, or this range here, where you are within 3 standard deviations from the mean. So its z-score would be 3. Now let's suppose you had a data value of 96. Its z-score, it's 1 standard deviation from the mean. So here we have our z-score, and it's to the left, so it would have a z-score of -1. Let's do one more example. Let's suppose you had a value of 115. Its z-score would be 2 because it's within 2 standard deviations to the right of the mean. And those are z-scores.